Oh boy, Chuck E. Cheese, formerly Chuck E. Cheese, is easily one of the top 3 rat-themed family entertainment centers. I've never been in one, and thanks to Chuck E. Cheese Super Collection, I don't have to. That's right, with this game, you can experience all the fun of the iconic family restaurant right from the comfort of your own Nintendo Wii. The first mention of this game was in the April 1998 issue of Nintendo Power, which promised the release of Chuck E. Cheese Collection on the Nintendo 64. Except this was actually just an April Fool's joke, and the game that actually came out under the same title over a decade later was just a complete coincidence. The idea of a video game based on Chuck E. Cheese seemed completely ridiculous in 1998, but things like that can change. Right now it might seem comedically outlandish for me to have normal length hair, but one jump cut later... It wasn't until over a decade later, in 2010, when Chuck E. Cheese finally got its much-deserved gaming debut on the Wii and Nintendo DS. The company that made the games, UFO Play, had 2 main franchises under their belt at this time, Chuck E. Cheese and Smart Girls Playhouse. It was obvious which was the favorite child judging by their abandoned Twitter profile, since they liked their own tweet announcing Chuck E. Cheese using 2 different accounts, but they didn't do the same with Smart Girls. When they hit 6 Chucky games, they calculated that they'd hit the magic tipping point where people would stop buying advertisements off store shelves, so they proceeded to make another 2 exclusive to the online DSi shop. During this 3-year period, Chuck Entertainment Cheese got the same number of games as Tetris. Impressive, but how on or off the mark was UFO Play in their balance between quality and quantity? Let's find out. First, we've got Chuck E. Cheese sports games, because if there's one thing the arcade/pizza chain is known for, it's athletic activities. It's a collection of mini-games with varying degrees of relation to sports, where you can play as your preferred animatronic anthropomorphic animal mascot. Apparently there's more than one of those besides the trademarked mouse, which are available if you don't like being funny. There are 9 games, with 8 unlocked from the get-go, and 1 grayed out one which you can unlock by getting gold medals and all the others. It would have been a surprise, since it doesn't tell you the name before it's unlocked and isn't listed on the back of the case with all the rest, but the instruction manual just goes and spoils it for you. Way to kill the suspense.
Baseball!
In this unorthodox version of baseball, there's a cannon that launches balls at you, which you have to hit away else run the pitch. There's no target or anything, you've just got to hit all the balls and make a big scattered pile of them in the back. You can also get home runs, which look cool and get you more points, but it feels completely random whether you'll actually get one or not, since there doesn't seem to be any motion that consistently gets you one. It doesn't really matter though, because getting a high combo of consecutive hits is prioritized way more in the scoring. The higher your combo is, the faster the balls get shot at you, and so the more hits you can get before the time runs out. The maximum reachable number of hits, if you don't reset the ball frequency by missing even once, is 45.
And finish!
So basically you've just gotta hit all the balls you can and hope you get lucky with home runs. Not that the game tells you any of this, all the in-game instruction you get is swing, and the included instruction manual just tells you to try and hit as many home runs as you can. How? Overall, Chuck E. Cheese Baseball is just frustrating to play. If I had to give it a letter grade, it would be Chuck F. Cheese. Not off to a great start. Every game in this collection has this ranking board which is shown after every game, where you can work your way up from amateur to the professional level. This is entirely cumulative and goes up even if you aren't doing well, so even though it would take longer, you could play completely awfully and still become an expert if you played enough times.
Tennis!
Tennis is equally annoying to play, for similar reasons. You have to keep hitting the ball back and forth at this wall trying to hit the target, and avoid losing the ball by hitting it over to the sides. But regardless of how you move the Wii remote, you never seem to have complete control over what direction it'll go. The in-game suggestions in the instruction manual are just as unhelpful as before. Swing the Wii remote with 1 or 2 hands when the ball is close enough to hit. Oh, so that was the problem. Tennis is the first of multiple minigames here where the gameplay changes after you reach the professional level. Once your score gets high enough, the course will turn blue and the target will start moving. This is nothing short of a slap to the face to us Chuck E. Cheese veterans who have been there since the beginning. If you want to play the old versions of the game, you've got no options short of making a whole new save file.
Ice hockey!
Finally, a game with a clear and consistent control system. You have to swing the remote to shoot the hockey puck while this moving green line is at the target location on the bar. If you do it, you make the shot, and if you mess up, you miss the shot. In the more advanced difficulties, the range where you can successfully make the shots gets smaller.
Mini golf!
This is much more of a complete game than the first 3, with a whole set of 9 mini golf holes. It has controls that make sense, and it's actually pretty fun. If you get the ball next to the edge, you can make Chuck E. Cheese float in midair or phase through objects. Once you reach the professional level, the courses are made harder by removing some of the walls and adding more obstacles.
Out of bounds! Bowling!
Pretty simple, just your typical bowling game where you try to knock down all the blue Chuck E. Cheese pins.
To simulate the feel of throwing a real bowling ball, you have to hold down 2 buttons on the Wii remote and let go of them when you swing. And I have to say, it's incredibly immersive. Just add some weights, and this is what the Wii remote safety strap was designed to allow you to do. In real life, for a casual, unpracticed bowling player, it's a miracle when you get a strike. But here you can learn the terminology for what it's called when you get several in a row. Double, turkey, 4-bagger, 5-bagger, 6-pack. But after that, they just go generic with 7 in a row. I looked it up, and there are funny bowling names for the situation that they could have used. They really missed out by not calling it a ham turkey dinner.
Fishing.
I feel like these games are drifting away from the sports theme that this collection is supposed to be about. Did they run out of sports? I mean, competitive fishing is a thing, but this is just a simulation of one of those mechanical fishboard games.
Ooh, look at me, I'm a fucking athlete.
There's really not much to this one. You just have to try and get out all the fish you can, and if they're glowing, you get extra points.
Kart racing.
The Chuck E. Cheese take on the kart racing genre. You have to go through the course as fast as possible, with running into a blue box speeding you up, and running into a yellow box giving you points. When you reach expert mode, the track changes into a harder track that's less fun to play.
Water filling.
Now they've definitely crossed the line from stretching it into non-sport territory. There is no sport called water filling. It's not immediately apparent what you're supposed to do here. At first I thought you were supposed to spray water on the characters in the background, because when you do that, they start moving. But what you're actually supposed to do is spray water into this spinning hole, which will make you move faster and win the race. You can also spray water into your opponent's hole, but unfortunately it doesn't do anything. There's a game sort of like this that's actually at Chuck E. Cheese, called Water Blast, which isn't a sport. Now onto that mysterious, unlockable final minigame. What sport will it be that you're surprised with after you've taken hours to get the gold and everything else?
Mr. Munch target practice.
Is it Mr. Munch target practice or Mr. Munch's target practice? The inconsistency here astounds me. It's just a generic shoot the targets game starring Mr. Munch, one of the Chuck E. Cheese mascots. As far as I can find online, Mr. Munch target practice isn't actually a thing at the real arcades, they just made it up just for this. Well, that's been Chuck E. Cheese sports games. Overall, not sporty enough for my liking, 3 out of 10. On to Chuck E. Cheese party games. The back of the case just says, where a kid can be a kid, 18 games in one. I have never seen a Wii game with this little text here before. There's usually at least some kind of blurb about what you can do in the game, but I guess I'll just be going in blind. This time you have a less expectable list of characters to choose from when picking your avatar. Instead of Chuck E. Cheese mascots again, you get a bunch of random made-up kids with detailed profiles that have no bearing on the actual game. I wonder what Ariel's favorite food is. One thing you can do is try to pick someone local to where you live to make it more relatable, but unfortunately 40 out of the 50 US states are excluded. Not very inclusive. After you pick your avatar, the game begins with a lengthy dialogue scene illustrating the negative effects of advertising on young children. Your dad says you can't go to Chuck E. Cheese's until you save up some more money, but you go anyway, and the staff offer to give you some tokens in exchange for work in the kitchen. The truck exploits child labor to make his pizzas. You can't even make the case that they might be old enough, because it explicitly states that each one of these kids is an elementary school student under their occupation. Literally all of them. It says the exact same thing for all 10 kids. After you get your ethically questionable tokens, you can try out games in the arcade. Most of them aren't unlocked at first, so you have to spend your tokens on a prize wheel, which has a chance of unlocking a new game, giving you tickets, tokens, or not doing anything. After about 12 minutes of spinning the wheel, all the games are unlocked. Let's run through them. Whack-a-mole, you whack moles. Basketball, you basket balls. Galaxy Shooter. It's a standard arcade alien shooting game, which uses sound effects similar to Galaga. After you shoot all the small aliens, there's a big one, which randomly jumps across the screen sometimes. Air hockey. Mr. Munch Target Practice. This is the same game that was unlockable in the Chuck E. Cheese sports games. It appears to have been remade from scratch, but essentially it's still the exact same game again. If you're playing the 2-in-1 Chuck E. Cheese Super Collection, then you get a duplicate. Jasper's Racing. You drive a car and avoid things. Dancing Queen with Helen. A slow-paced rhythm game where you press buttons in time with some music. Picto Match. Spot the differences between two Chuck E. Cheese pictures. Balloon Alphabet. Pop the balloons to fill out words. You can learn while having fun. Cowboy Jasper. You're a boy named Jasper going around catching cows. Connect the Stars. The all-new Successful and Celestial spin-off of Connect the Dots. Matching. You have to look at some cards and then remember which ones are the same. You've got to be on your memorization A game for this, especially when it moves up to a whopping 6 cards. That's all the games. With the tickets you win from playing them, you can buy objects that you can put in your virtual room. To 100% beat the game, you've got to get every item from the shop, which would probably take a long time. Now that we've seen both of the minigame sets on the Wii, let's take a quick look at the Super Collection. It says you get over 25 fun-filled mini-games, but I counted, and even if you count both versions of Mr. Munch's Target Practice, the slot machine for collecting stuff, and the pizza-making job as their own games, you only get 24. Now onto the DS games. First up is Chuck E. Cheese Party Games. It's pretty much just the same as the Wii version, except that, as you'd expect, the graphics are all DS-ified. Since all the games are extremely simple, being on a less advanced platform doesn't seem to make much of a difference. However, this version doesn't have any of the in-game instructions that the Wii version had, so it takes longer to figure out how you're supposed to earn your tokens and unlock the games. Next up, we have Chuck E. Cheese Game Room and Chuck E. Cheese Playhouse, which are actually a crossover with UFO Play's Smart Kids series. Now, one important thing to note about the Smart Kids series was that it had two distinct branches, Smart Boys Game Room and Smart Girls Playhouse, a separation which was now carried over to Chuck E. Cheese as well. You can tell at a glance which is which due to the stereotypical colors on the otherwise identical back labels.
But Mom, I'm not a girl! Oh shit.
Apart from extremely minor gameplay changes, these two releases are practically identical. They're both collections of 13 mini-games, if you can even call them that. You have spot the difference puzzles, connect the dots, coloring pages, a toy keyboard, and stuff like that, which are present on both versions of the game with slightly different images. In one boy-exclusive minigame, you get to make a car by tapping which types of wheels and things you want, and then watch it drive. How cool! In one girl-exclusive minigame, you can dress up some of the characters and do their hair. How pretty! There are a few actual games though. For example, both boys and girls can go bowling. And it's one of the easiest bowling games I've ever played, because if you make even a vaguely straight swipe on the touchscreen, you always get a strike. Another cool feature that both of the games have is that if you put in your birthday in the game's settings, it'll say happy birthday to you if you start the game on that day. Aw, you didn't have to do that. And lastly, there are the two DSi Shop exclusive games. Fortunately, I don't have them, so my reviews don't have to be as thorough. In Chuck E. Cheese Alien Defense Force, you shoot at targets. Seems familiar. Then there's Chuck E. Cheese Arcade Room, which is a mini-game collection with games pretty similar to what we've already seen. Overall, these games made no difference in my desire, or lack thereof, to go to a Chuck E. Cheese entertainment center. So as far as advertisements go, they're about average. The only game I actually enjoyed in this whole series was the outdoor mini-golf, which isn't actually offered at Chuck E. Cheese. Until they make good on this false advertising and construct golf courses adjacent to the buildings, they won't be receiving a cent out of me.